Hey crafters, this is Paulette. It's time for April's name tag, and our little cards are cut at 2.5 by 3 1/4. I did something totally different this month. I'm using watercolor paper. I've been watching a lot of watercolor, and I thought that would be something fun and something different. So I'm using this stamp set from Stampin'UP. It's 5th Avenue Floral, and I've used this lily image. I have already stamped it a couple of times, once on vellum and once to make a mask. So there's my vellum piece, and here's my mask. I only needed this right-hand side cut so I could stamp my second flower. This card is so long that I'm not going to do the stamping. I've already got the stamping done, but I'll show you how I did this. I lined this up on here, knowing that I wanted the first flower to be tipped and hanging off the edge a little bit. And then I brought my Stampin' in here. And actually, I've got this upside down. No wonder it's not working. So, got this on here, put this here, stamped the first flower, and then put my mask on top of that, lining it up perfectly. And knowing that I wanted a little bit of space between these two bottom petals, so I left a gap there. And then I wanted these two petals to overlap somewhere on this flower, so that would put that behind. So laid that down with the Stampin', stamped one more time. On this one, you have to apply some really good pressure, so I put the stamp down, remove the handle, rock forward, top to bottom and side to side, because you have to get down along the edges of this paper. Then take that off, and our stamping's done, and we're ready to get started. This is a little $1 stamp set that I picked up at Joann's, and it's a Studio G stamp set. And I actually did try using the He Is Risen, but I felt like it was too large and too blocky, so I ended up going with the Scripty Jesus Lives, and I think that turned out much prettier. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm taking a large flat brush, and I'm just going to brush some water on here. Now, I've been watching a lot of watercolor, and one of my favorite artists, who is a card maker, is Lindsay, and she's the Frugal Crafter. And you may already follow her as well. And I just kind of followed her Magnolia tutorial. And she just dabbed some color in around her flowers. And that was some certainly celery diluted way down, and now I'm going to add in some Pacific Point that is diluted down. Now, I stamped on the smooth side of my paper. If I had have stamped on the rough side, I think things would have bled and melted just a little bit better, but that's okay. So I'm grabbing some paper towel here. Now, if the water and color doesn't go where I wanted it to go, I'm kind of just staying in a downward motion here. I want this top corner to stay free of color. And on the bottom, I just kind of let the color go all the way to the edge. That was fine. Now this one, there's a lot of water in there, so I'm just going to steal and pull some of it over here, and then I'm going to just push the rest of that off. Kind of run it down where you want it. If you have a clean paper towel, you can go in there and dot off where it's getting on the flowers. And another thing you can do is you can just come in here and put more water in there and take that out. That is a really cool thing about watercolor paper. It's amazing. So let's wash these up a little bit. Okay. Now I'm ready to add some yellow, and I've got some Daffodil Delight watered down. Just gonna smoosh it around on top of my flowers here. And I'm going to rinse this brush off. Now we may have to use the heat tool in here a little bit to speed things along so we can keep going. I'm just kind of drying the outer edges, not necessarily the flowers. Some of that heat will be blowing to the flowers anyway, but I would like to keep them open. I've got a little bit of purple, and I actually had to mix my purple. I don't normally do that. I usually just use the reinkers, either the solid color that they are or dilute them with water a little bit. But the purple that I ordered is not purple, it's gray. There's something wrong with it. So I mixed a little bit of Real Red, Pacific Point, and Pixie Pink to get my purple. And when you do that, you can just scribble onto some paper and see if it's what you like, because you can't tell when it's in the little artist tray. And then you can add more blue or more pink. Okay. Oh, I missed a couple petals because I'm talking. Alright. Now, I came in with a little bit of Pixie Pink, and it's diluted down just to brighten this up a little bit. I felt like it was too dull. Just to brighten up and blend that purple a little bit. And I got a lot, so I'm just going to tap that a little bit with my paper towel. And because things are still a little damp there, you can just blend. And if you don't like, they call that like a cauliflower, where it kind of bursts out. You can go back and blend. Just blend on top of those and smooth them out. And then where you get to where, you know, you like it, you're okay with it, then you can go on. Alright, I'm going to heat this a little bit. I think it's a little bit prettier if you leave it so that it dries naturally, but for the sake of video, I've got to speed it up. That way we can get it all in and get it all done. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of pumpkin pie and do the little center part of the stamens. And then we'll dry that real quick so that the tops don't bleed into it. I don't remember if I talked about this stamping in the lighter color. A lot of people are doing that so that there's no harsh lines when they do their watercolor. Well, they're Copic. I've seen it done on Copic. People who do their watercolor draw very lightly in pencil, and it's the same concept. Now I've got some Dusty Durango, and I'm just putting in the top of these stamens. And I gotta tell you, this project was very liberating for me. I really enjoyed it, but I love watercolor. I always have. Before I was a stamper, I used to buy the Hallmark card programs, and most of the cards I printed in those programs were the watercolor. A, because they're just so peaceful and soothing, and B, because they used less ink from my printer. So, you know, it's when you're doing holiday projects, cards and calendars, it's all about stretching that printer ink. Okay. Now, you may have to flex these. I did have them taped down with one little strip of adhesive, just so they didn't move while I was working on them. And drying them and the water makes that curl. So just curve it in both directions. And now we can do our stamping. So I've got my cross mounted. On my Stampin'UP stamp press that I've glued some foam to. Now, I didn't really set my flowers up for this to go right in the center. I was not concerned about that at all. And I don't care whether it was in the center. I just wanted it to be between the two flowers. And still have room for people to write their name at the top of the name tag. That one didn't impress very well. I can come back later with my little pen and fill that in if I want to. I'm not very good at lining it up again, so I don't know that I dare try. Sometimes I get lucky and it fits, but a lot of times it doesn't, and that just completely makes it unusable. So and then we've got our month, which is April. And I'm going to try to selectively ink the A, the P, and the R. Which was a lot harder with the StazOn than with my Ranger ink. I think I re-inked this and I was a little bit sloppy. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, be sure and let me know. Let's pick up the more vibrant one. The better stamped one. Thanks for joining me.